Hey, hello everyone. I'm Priya Raman. I lead digital transformation with data and analytics for Microsoft. And we are going to be talking about how we are driving a connected data strategy that lights up enterprise-wide data and analytics. It's a topic that's discussed a lot, given that data is the new fuel, and everyone understands that. But before I get into that, I'd just like to introduce the organization that I work for. The organization that I work for is called CSEO, which is Core Services and Engineering Group. It is the IT organization within Microsoft. It is the one organization that's driving digital transformation to empower our employees across Microsoft. We manage all kinds of functions. We look at sales, marketing, operations, HR, finance, and we are looking at consistently how do we empower them through tools, through processes, through services, through data and AI. And what we have over here is how we define our digital transformation journey. We look at having a cloud-centric architecture. Microsoft, like many other companies, was not born in the cloud era. So we actually embrace the cloud-centric architecture, and that's a fundamental for us for our digital transformation. We also look at secure enterprise as being a fundamental, data and intelligence as being really a critical engine on how we drive the digital transformation. And we do the digital transformation by creating customer-centric systems, productive enterprise, we launch optimization, and we look at end-to-end process optimization, where we're really looking at ways to digitize and automate the processes that we have, that we run for Microsoft end-to-end. Okay, coming back to data, you see that data and intelligence is very, very critical part of our digital transformation journey. You must have heard this more and more. Data is the new fuel for transformation, and it's very central to our digital transformation process. When we think about data, data has really helped set up new industries like e-commerce, like online advertising, and we look at data as a fuel to disrupt the way we are helping our employees, helping our partners and customers to deliver things that way they never thought of before. And that's what we and my team focuses on. My team has a mix of data engineers, data analysts, and data scientists. We also have product data people because we want to convert all of the stuff into data products so that we can empower our customers and our users in a wonderful way. However, we also realize while we understand data is beautiful and that is it's the fuel of the future and all that stuff, we also realize that in organizations like ours, big organizations, we only tag less than 3% of our data. So we collect a lot of data, but we only tag 3% of it. And only less than 1% of it we really use for any kind of analytics. We also realize that data is growing at an exponential rate. When you went back in 2016, there was this whole quote about data where it said, where people said that in the last 90 years, we collected more data than ever in the last 2 years. We collected more data than over the entire humankind. And data is only going to grow more and more, not just in terms of volume, but in terms of the depth and in terms of the kind of insights that it can give you. We also realize that more than 85% of all AI projects that companies do are not resulting in business outcomes. One of the biggest reasons for that is, one, lack of skills. We don't have a lot of AI, ML people out there. These are really careers and skills that have grown in the last few years. And the second thing that we realize is that we really don't have connected data. If you want to do good AI, ML, you should be able to look at data across the ecosystem, the depth and the richness of the data that really helps you create the right kind of AI projects that lead to business outcomes. Okay. So the way we look at the transformation with data and AI within Microsoft is the way I describe it through this data escalator. The first and foremost thing is the foundations. Are we able to find the right data at the right time? Is it the right quality of data that people can trust and create insights on? The second and third is really on top of that data, are we able to build things that are useful for the business? Are we measuring what we truly want to impact? I used to work for GE many years ago, and I walked into the organization, and I saw this, and the first meeting was a metrics review meeting. We were reviewing around 200 metrics. Some of them were red, some of them were green, and I asked out of curiosity, what are we going to do with these red metrics? And nothing, we just measure it. Why measure something if you're not going to impact it? So the really important thing that I gathered from there is that a lot of times we are spending energy and time on measuring things that are of no impact. So how do we understand what are the outcomes that we want to impact as a business, and how do we start measuring them the right way? And we start to adopt the right kind of frameworks, and that's an important piece of how we look at data. And then last but not the least, we're also looking at powering intelligent experiences with data. This is where the ML and AI comes in. I always put it as the last step on my escalator, is because we want to understand we have good quality data. We want to ensure that we are measuring what we want to impact. And we want to create ML AI on things that we want to impact versus creating it on random stuff. So that's really the way we are looking at it and saying, do we have the right foundations? Are we measuring the right things? And we go create intelligent things on top of it. And what's underlying is two things. One is the governance part of it. Data is precious, and you need to guard it. You want to ensure that you have the right kind of governance around it to ensure that you can trust it, it is the right quality, and B, to ensure that we have the right security protocols around it, in terms of privacy, in terms of compliance of data, and so on. So it's something that encompasses the entire escalator. We also look at the culture part of it, because everyone talks about data, but it's not clear what part of data are they talking about. Is it just some numbers that are stored in some place? Are they talking about that? Or are they talking about the insights and the intelligence that we are starting to create with this? And it's really, really critical to shape the culture of the organization on how they look at data and how are they turning data into intelligent experiences. If you're just looking at data in isolation without looking at the business impact that you want to create and the intelligent experiences that you want to create for your customers and your business, it's just numbers. So it's really, really critical how we start to shift the cultural change, and how do we start to make that change in an active way across the organization. Now, this is my pet peeve. When I look at data, or when we look at data in any organization, we're looking at data in silos. If I am a salesperson or an account manager, I'm just looking at the data that's readily accessible to me, which is probably the CRM data. If I'm a finance person, probably I'm just looking at the accounts payable data, because that's the data that's directly accessible to me. But often, data does not live by subject areas. I mean, it's spread across the ecosystem. For example, if I want to understand customer insights, the data can be sitting in CRM. The data could be sitting in all the other places. Ticketing, because the customer called, they had a service call to make, and they called us, so there's customer data there. So data is sitting in many different places. If you're not connecting them across, we're not starting to create or not starting to exploit the insights that it can give us. So if we truly want a 360 view of a customer, we really need to connect different pieces of data where the customer data resides to understand the customer journey in a holistic way. But we are not able to do that today, because data does sit in silos, and we don't have trusted data, the same level of trust across the different siloed data universes that we have in our ecosystem. We don't have the same kind of data management that sits across each of the data stores that we have, so that it makes it very difficult for us to connect the data in the right way, in a trusted way, in a scalable, durable way, to be able to create the kind of insights that we want to create. So, and for me, it's a very foundational issue. If we really want to go create all kinds of beautiful insights around the customer and relevant, usable stuff that our salespeople can use or our finance people can use, because everyone wants a view of the customer, as an example. So we need to solve for some of the foundational things that we have in our data. When we look at our own foundational challenges, when we started looking at it a few months ago, we realized that we have data in many different lakes. So what we did is that we just ported our data from the data warehouse into a cloud, and it just existed in many different places. The management systems in terms of the taxonomy, the quality management, all of that stuff was different for each of the lakes, making it very difficult to connect all of this data to create insights around it. Also, we realized that there was a sprawl in terms of a duplication in terms of the work that was getting done. So to maintain 12 different lakes and to ensure that there is consistency of management, services, etc., you had data engineers in a central team, data engineers in the team where the subject area team who were trying to work together to make it happen, but it was 12 times over duplication. So we had this rainbow of what we call as the rainbow of inconsistencies and rainbow of dependencies that we created amongst each other. It became like this really messy way the arrows are going up and down. And guess what? If you have 12 different teams, you have 12 different ways of bringing in the data and working with it. So this is our solution to it. What we decided is, and this is a solution that requires a huge amount of cultural transformation, where we said that we wanted to centralize our data lakes so that with a common management system underneath of them, and we have a one catalog which can discover the data across the ecosystem. But when we bring all the data together in one place, we do it in a way where each of the tenants, like if finance wants its own wants its own area, or sales wants its own area, they can still operate in their own area. However, the underlying infrastructure in terms of the management system that you see, in terms of taxonomies, in terms of metadata management, quality, governance, all of those are consistent across. And we decided while we have that layer centralized, we have the analytics layer democratized. So we provide the tools and the capabilities for the rest of the organization to work with, to create Power BI reports, or to create data products on top of it, or ML or AI solutions on top of it. So we said that part of it is democratized, but the below part is where the data can come together, and we are able to connect it in seamless ways to create new kind of insights and intelligence. So let me talk about the one catalog a little bit. So the two parts to the foundation was, one is the one catalog piece. The second one is the bringing all the different parts of the data into an enterprise data lake. So the one catalog, we have more than 90% of all our data assets in one catalog. So this is the place where people can go and discover data. We realize that more than 50% of the time people spend before they create any kind of analytics or insights is on preparation of data. So this reduces that time, because people can go and look for the data that they want, ask for access, and also ensure that the data that they're using is a certified or a trusted data set. So what we do is that we tag it as a certified or a trusted data set if it's being used in other places. And also there's a quality score around the data. There's a quality profile around the data of saying that this data is 80% good and has been used for these different kind of analysis. So it builds the confidence versus people asking many different folks across the organization to see what kind of data sets that they should be using. The other part of it is, as I talked about, is bringing the data together into an enterprise data lake. But that's a journey as well. You can't just say, hey, tomorrow all this data shifts from wherever different lakes it is into this one enterprise data lake. It has to be scenario-based. It has to be business outcome. I think every journey begins with this one step of starting to understand what are the business outcomes and scenarios based on which we should be creating the enterprise data lake. So we started to look at, there are a whole lot of folks in the organization who want a connected customer view to be able to sell better, to be able to do their financial operations better, and a whole host of other things better. So how do we start to bring the data that pertains to customer insights across the ecosystem? Similarly, when we work with the security part of the organization, which is also part of our core base pillar, we started to understand what are the different kinds of data that the security folks need to have, because they need to understand what the user journey is across different devices, across different applications, to understand if there are security threats or not. So they wanted the data across the ecosystem to be able to go create their own anomaly detection models or fraud detection models of any threat models that they wanted to have. So these were some of the scenarios that we started to bring together, and these are just two examples. We brought a whole lot of other scenarios to say these are the cases based on which we should be bringing the data together. So to sum it all up, there are three things that we have learned to date. Number one is, if you want a cohesive data strategy, and there are many companies who have different data strategies, the data strategies could be centralized data platforms and centralized analytics. We've chosen centralized data platform and decentralized or democratized analytics. But the first thing is start with the scenarios. Really ensure that is the driving force behind putting together your data strategy. The second thing is prioritize. And I say that 3 times because it's really, really critical. When we look at data, like anything else, it's a journey. You are going to be working on data over a period of time. So it's really important that you start to prioritize and understand what are the things that we want to go and solve for first. In our case, we chose customer insights because that's pretty central to all the work that we do. And then the third part is technology is the easy part. I don't think it took us a whole lot of time in terms of understanding what the solution needs to be and what is the technology that we need to put in place. I think the stuff that really took a long time or is taking is still a journey is the cultural shift, is the cultural change that we are starting to create. And the best way we have done it is everyone understands business outcomes. When you tell, hey, when you tell them this is what we are doing, this is how the customer, this is how we change the world for our customer, everyone gets that. We start with that and then take a step back in terms of understanding what are the other issues that could be stopping them from adapting that change. But that's a continuous thing. You solve one issue and then you have another one, and so on and so forth. But that's the continuous part of it. You have to continue to understand what the issues are across the ecosystem and how do you take people through that cultural transformation. So with that's what our journey has been so far, and I would be happy to share more as we go along. I speak to a lot of customers who work with Microsoft. We are completely on Azure platform. We guinea pig all the Azure products. We also give them feedback on what needs to improve. So there's a very symbiotic relationship over there. But when we speak to our customers, they are very happy because they understand the pains. Some of those are similar. Some of those things that we can resonate and talk to each other about. So that's been our journey, and I'm happy to share any other any other points or any other questions that you may have offline. Thank you.